This is horror movie and staged events production at Moor Studios, Gaumont British Animation, Part 21. What happened to George Reeves, aka Superman Special. This is where the slides came from Moor Studios. Here's some contact information. This is the fair use statement. So here's the first picture I looked at from Moor Studios, and I was able to identify this gentleman here, who was noted as Ralph Wright, as being Bela Lugosi. Was I sure of it? Not at first. What I did to confirm was identify everybody else in the picture, and as you can see, I got almost everybody here. The most interesting of which, in my mind, was this guy Doug Lowe, who turned out to be Ed Wood. And if you know the history of Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood, they should not be in this picture together because they don't meet until later on in life in California. Here's, Peter Cushing is over here, a bunch of great people. But this guy over here I had difficulty with, couldn't figure out for a long, long time who he was because I couldn't find him in any horror films. These are all, for the most part, horror film people, except for this gentleman here. So he's identified as a guy named Nicholas Spargo. And at Moor Studios, I'm able to find exactly 3 pictures of Nick Spargo. This is the first, where he's over here with the pipe and this around his neck, and here he is with 2 other gentlemen, Alan Taverner, John Wilson. Here's Nick Spargo, and he's wearing a disguise. I mean, there's no question. He's got the glasses on, mustachio, this chin thing here. It's unquestionable they have designed a photo shoot like this with a disguise. So you have to be somebody pretty interesting in order to do that. Here's the last picture there is of him here, and he's going through a storyboard and a bunch of interesting characters. There's Dr. Frankenstein over here, I forget his name. But in any case, at one point I thought maybe he's Groucho Marx. He's got some kind of Groucho mustache. The chin beard is missing here. Oh, Dr. Optimus, I think is his name. I thought he was Groucho, same kind of Groucho look, but he's too tall for Groucho. I mean, he's the tallest of the lot here. He's taller than Bela Lugosi. He's a large man. So I said, well, who is he? I stared at the picture a long time, and I think it's the glasses for the most part that are the giveaway here. And who else wore glasses like this? Well, of course, Clark Kent, Superman, aka George Reeves, wore glasses like this. And I think it's a pretty good match. In fact, at this point, I know it's a good match. I had figured this out a while back, but the teeth threw me for a little bit. Turns out these are caps or some other kind of dental prosthesis here. But and we've got 2 gentlemen who look very, very similar. Belabor this a little. Here's a nice picture. But again, the glasses are similar. Shape of face is similar. Smile, his attitude. Here you can see some dental issues over in the front, but these are caps. And the basic shape of the head. Now, this picture here of Spargo is probably in the 40s, and this of George Reeves is in the 50s. He played he played Superman into the 50s, and belabor the pictures a little, but this is no small find. Here he is again, and very nice comparison here. Again, the glasses are almost identical, same shaped head, same face. You'll notice Superman had some little bit of widow's peak and the hair coming in. You get a hint of it on both sides here. Same quality of hair. And if you grew up with Superman, and George Reeves, this is really sort of exciting to find him alive and well. You'll see in a little bit the story of how he died. But he was America's superhero, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and on and on. And he was supposedly had a gunshot wound and killed himself in 1959. Again, here's a terrific comparison. Again, same glasses, widow's peak over here. Lots of good attitude, strong man. He's big, tall, he's beautiful, handsome looking man. Yeah, here it is, George Reeves. He died 1959, the age 45. Superman in the 1950s television program Adventures of Superman. Death at 45 from a gunshot wound remains a polarizing issue. The official finding was suicide, but some believe he was murdered or the victim of an accidental shooting. Well, again, like any good conspiracy, you have the story, and then you have the approved conspiracy, which is that somebody else shot him, or it was mob related, or something of that nature. And of course, it's none of it. He was still alive and went on to have a very healthy career doing a children's animation series called Willow the Wisp. In 1981, they were 5-minute animated features. He did 52 of them, and they were very, very successful. Apparently, his brother picked it up later on. So, George Reeves, aka Superman, supposedly died in 59 of a gunshot wound. He did not die in 59. He went on to do Willow the Wisp in 1981 and died in 1997. Now, am I 100% sure? I mean, they look alike. Um, same glasses, same features, same shape of the head. Again, he's older here. Is it the same man? Well, here we start to find things about Gone with the Wind at Moor Studios. There was a number of references. So here's George Reeves as Brent Tarleton. He was in Gone with the Wind. Again, if I'm correct, and I am, George Reeves was at Moor Studios. And, I never would have figured out that Nick Spargo was George Reeves if I only had the pictures of him as from Gone with the Wind, or even the Superman picture. It really is the Clark Kent that made it possible for me to identify Nick Spargo as George Reeves. Again, the glasses were a really big help here. So you have George Reeves in Gone with the Wind, and here W.D. Jones, as I showed from the Barrow Gang, shooting a Bonnie and Clyde, turned out to be Clark Gable, and also at Moor Studios. I wasn't 100% sure he's Fred Shackle. I need an ear expert to do this one, but definitely Clark Gable. And at Moor Studios, you had William Powell and Myrna Loy. Those were easy to pick up. And one more at Moor Studios that referred to Gone with the Wind. We found Ava Braun there, who is Bettina Hansford, who is Deanna Durbin. And in number 12, you see the cast of Gone with the Wind, the women going to visit Adolf Hitler at the Berghof. So you have lots of references to Gone with the Wind at Moor Studios, which solidified the case that George Reeves is Nicholas Spargo. So I went looking for more confirmation, and here is George Reeves as Superman. This is the gentleman who plays Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, and Perry White. But I couldn't find them at Moor Studios. That would have locked it in that he's definitely Nicholas Spargo. And I suspect the reason is that Superman is from the 50s, and those pictures from the 40s. It could have been another film studio. But I did manage to find somebody else, and this is confirmatory. So here's pictures of George Reeve, and this is his wife, a woman named Leonore Lemon, and a couple decent pictures of this woman and George Reeve having a good time with her, and he looks pretty genuine. He looks like he's been a fairly happy guy. He's enjoyed his life. He's captivating. He's funny. He's smart. And here he seems to be enjoying his wife. And so, was she at Moorhole Studios? The answer is yes. And how do we find her? It's best if you find a feature that you can identify on the person you're looking for. Like, for example, George Reeves, it was his glasses that he wore as Clark Kent that helped me identify him as Superman, George Reeves. So here, this woman, Leonore Lemon, has this giant widow's peak here, and it's fairly prominent over here. So I went to the Moorhole Studios pictures and looked for a woman with a giant widow's peak, and here we find a woman named Enid Ash, and this is Leonora Lemon. This is George Reeves' wife. You see the giant widow's peak. And she's kind of a homely looking woman, very plain, not much really in the looks department, but I'm running through a couple of pictures here. We'll stop at this one. But here, what they've done with her is they've really kind of frumped her up a bit. I mean, she's wearing some kind of very plain outfit. They've told her to do it. And here's the widow's peak. The hair's not much to look at, pale looking. And you sit and you question. And again, it looks to me the same woman. Here's the widow's peak on her. We don't have a great ear, but we have very similar features. I'll show you. I have more pictures in a minute. But you have to sit and question. I mean, George Reeves, fairly attractive man. He's successful, handsome, good looking. He's Superman. I mean, this is just a great catch. And she's fairly ordinary here, and maybe even slightly better than ordinary, but not much. I mean, here's another picture of Leonora Lemon, and she's the wife of George Reeves. And again, this is the same woman. We'll confirm in a minute. You have to be thankful for Google, because Google actually described who else Leonora Lemon is, and she also turns out to be Hedy Lamarr. So when I Google Leonora Lemon, in the middle of the page are pictures of Hedy Lamarr. It has to do with how the search engine works. And this gives us a better view of the woman. Again, the widow's peak is kind of key here. The shape of the head, the chin. You got to realize the chin is crouched down, but you can still see a little bit of a crease here. So the chin's coming out a little bit. And they have makeup on her. They have nice eye makeup on her. This nose is kind of key. It swoops down a little bit. It's a little protuberant here. And it's the same thing over here on Leonora Lemon. And in fact, sort of similar over here. And so all three of these women are identical. It's the same woman, Enid Ash, Hedy Lamarr, Leonora Lemon. Here again, nice view of the nose, the widow's peak, beautiful view of the nose. Here you get kind of a nice combination of being able to see that nose and a straightforward look about her. And makeup does a whole lot. She looks spectacular. This is the great Hedy Lamarr. And George Reeves, would you expect him to be with anybody less than Hedy Lamarr? No. I mean, it makes sense now. You couldn't imagine George Reeves with Enid Ash here, but she turns out to be a world-class, world-famous actress. Okay, take care, everybody. Oh, one more slide. We fill in the next to last person here. Nick Spargo is George Reeves, aka Superman.